All right. Welcome to another episode of the Tribal Training Podcast. This is a story time episode, and it is building off of the breakthroughs that came out of the last Tribal Cafe conversation. That was yesterday. And the big emergence at the end of that chat was this idea of what is the game that you are playing in life? And are you intentionally playing a game that you want to play, or are you stuck playing other people's games? And this podcast here, I just got to share my own story back from when I started in endurance, when I started in business, and I got just some real life examples, man, of how I started playing my own games. And I'm sitting here now in 2024, and my life looks so different than it did back when I started this journey in February 2019. And I just got to tell you guys about it because this is a core concept that led to so much positive change in my life. So I'm going to take you back to February 2019. And in February 2019, I was 2 months into working a new corporate job. I had just moved from Nashville to Philly, where I'm from. I was living in Fishtown. That's a neighborhood in Philly. I was taking the subway, the Market Frankfurt line, about 30 minutes into Center City. And I was working a normal 9 to 5. I was working at this company called Instamed. They sold healthcare payment tech, right? So to me, it was like, oh man, I got a fancy LinkedIn title, healthcare payment tech. I got all the buzzwords, man. I'm winning, right? I got a good salary. I'm really nailing it, right? I'm like 25. And I've made it in a sense, right? And I remember back on my first day at this job, it was December 3rd, 2018. And since I was moving back to Philly from Nashville, all of my interviews had been remote. And so my first day seeing the office was my first day of work. And I remember so vividly, right? I'm working into the city, taking the subway, got the LinkedIn title. I'm thinking I made it, like I just said. And I take the elevator up to the 15th floor, and the doors open, and immediately I want to die. To my left and to my right are double entry key doors. You got the key card scan, you got the fingerprint scan. And I walk out onto the floor, and I just see a sea of cubes. And in my mind, I'm like, this is not the vision that I had for my life. What? I don't know, man. I don't know at all. And so I settled in, and I decided to give it a couple of months, right? I'm going to figure out the job a little bit. I'm going to figure out my coworkers. I'm going to figure out just this whole setup, see what's going on. And I was there for about 2 months, and I quickly realized I got to create a spark in my life, right? I got to start playing a little bit of a different game. And in those 2 months, I had realized, right, of course, I got a sales job. I'm tied to revenue numbers. I got a quota. So that's the big picture thing that I'm working towards. But there also seems to be this office politics game that people almost care more about day to day. Are you in by 8:30? Oh, that person was late. Oh, what were they doing? They better be staying late. Are you taking longer than 30 minutes on your lunch break? Oh my goodness, that person was gone for 45 minutes. Right? Their Skype status on the company messaging platform, it says that they've been away from their desk for an hour. Where have they been? What are they doing? We're supposed to stay till 5, right? And it's like, oh my God, that person over there just got up early. What are they doing? We got to stay till 5. Right? And so I realized that all of these little office politics games where it's like these unimportant metrics that were given a ton of weight day to day, I just started to realize that like so many people seem trapped in just wasting all of their mental energy worrying about these things. And they just kept them confined and feeling like a victim. And to me, I'm like, this is just not what I want my life to be, man. At the time, I was starting to learn about Cameron Hanes. I was learning about Courtney Dauwalter. I was learning about Jesse Itzler. And I'm like, damn, man, these people they do big time endurance events, but these people do it pretty casually, right? Like they've got, quote, normal lives. Like they're not professional athletes. So all of a sudden to me, I'm like, that game looks fun. And I can sense that in my current environment, if I'm wasting all of my energy on these office politics games of what's this person's opinion of me, what does this person think, is this boss going to be upset at this, I was just limiting my entire existence. And so I'm like, all right, I got to shake some shit up. And this is when I decided to sign up for my Surge 70.3. February 2019. So I buy my road bike, right? Figure out my pool access. I get to run in. And I've never done any of this before, right? I rode a bike as a kid, did a couple summers on swim team, been a capable runner my whole life, but always been the slowest kid on every team. And I got no endurance experience, which sets me up to feel like I'm making progress pretty quickly. And so now, all of a sudden, instead of my day-to-day looking like waking up at 6:30 or 7, taking the train in for 30 minutes, being in the office from 8:30 to 5, maybe I hit the gym on the way home, but then I'm pretty much home and it's dinner and I'm just watching TV. Instead of that being my existence, now I've got this new game to play where I've got a goal of finishing a half Ironman that scares the shit out of me. And so now my new game is, how can I stack some training wins each day? Right? And so I start waking up a little bit earlier. Not crazy early. Maybe 45 minutes earlier. And instead of just farting around in the morning, I'm getting a 60-minute ride in. Or I'm getting a run in. Or I'm going to the pool. And so now all of a sudden in this new game, I'm feeling like I'm winning this thing. And all of a sudden, this confidence starts to emerge from my soul. And now all of a sudden when I'm showing up to work, man, I'm like, it's 8:30 in the morning and half of my coworkers are still rubbing their eyes because they just rolled out of bed 20 minutes before. But me, man, I just worked out for 60 minutes. I just rode my bike in my basement, man. You know how much effort it took to get that done? Look at me, man. I'm feeling accomplished. So now all of a sudden, the water cooler talk starts to get a little bit different. And it starts to become so clear to me that the people who are focused on this completely unimportant game of office politics and opinions and what does it look like, right? What's the perception? Am I staying till 5, but at 5 everybody gets up and leaves at once, right? Like, am I playing part in this whole charade? The people that are doing that, they are just totally deceiving themselves on what they are capable of. And I'm starting to realize, hey, man, I'm taking care of my sales quota because I'm a winner, right? And I'm taking care of business at work. And so since I've got confidence in my ability to keep the main thing, right, and do my job, paired with the idea that I'm really pushing myself and I'm winning at this secondary game that I've built in my life, now all of a sudden I can relax a little bit on the nonsense. Now all of a sudden I don't really care if my lunch break goes for 45 minutes or an hour because I'm taking a walk through Rittenhouse Park in Philly, right? Instead of eating my lunch at my desk, right? So I'm feeling a little bit more confident in myself. And I'm training towards this race, right? And I'm like 8 weeks into training. And I'm feeling this momentum. I'm feeling this progress. And I'm loving it, man. I'm winning at this other game that I built. But all of a sudden, hit with a little bit of adversity. And I am playing in my men's league ice hockey game at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday night in April, and I shatter my left ankle. And all of a sudden, this game of becoming an endurance athlete, this game of waking up in the morning and training, it feels like it's been ripped out from underneath me. And I feel defeated. And even though I know I'm not quitting on this goal, I am forced to accept that I need surgery and that all of 2019 is going to be focused on recovery. And I ain't going to be racing. And so as I balanced this feeling of still being like I'm committed to this thing, but the day-to-day reality of being like, I don't feel like I can win at this game right now, I fell back into the trap of playing someone else's game. I lost that individual game that I had created. And all of a sudden, I fell back into putting a little bit more weight in the 30-minute lunch, in stay until 5, in stay until 5:30 because it looks good, in my call numbers, right? And I'm still hitting the big metrics, right? I'm still hitting my sales quota, but I've lost a little bit of that swagger that lets me stay confident in that. And that lets me be at peace with that. And that lets me really pour into the life that I want to build outside of that. Because, man, at the time, I'm seeing people online. I'm seeing people like Zach Homel. I'm seeing him own a gym. I'm seeing him have an online coaching business. I'm seeing him help his wife build a coaching business. And in my head, I'm like, why can't that be me, man? Why can't that be my life? Like, I want that life. I want that freedom, man. But I feel stuck. I feel constrained. And I feel like I got to win at someone else's game right now. And I don't like that feeling. I feel overwhelmed. So May, June, July, these months come and go. I get the surgery. I'm on the rolling scooter. I evolved to crutches. And August rolls around, and I'm like, you know what, man? I got to get me a new game. I got to get me a new game, right? Because I've given myself the couple of months of feeling sorry for myself, not giving up on the goal, but sort of stuck with my reality of not being able to train, right? I got to learn how to walk again. And so in August of 2019, I decide, it looks like a fun game to play. Starting an e-commerce business. And so I decide that even though I'm making a great salary, I'm making $100,000. I'm working in Center City, Philly. I decide, I was working towards this game, but I don't know, man. Figured out how to win it, and it's not fulfilling me the way that I want to. And you know what looks fun? Creating a dog bandana business. So I go spend 20 or 30 bucks on some fabric at Joann Fabrics. I get my sister's old sewing machine out of my mom's basement. And I decide that the game that I want to play is learning how to sew triangles, learning how to flip them inside out, learning how to make a website, learning how to post the product, learning how to print the shipping label, learning how to build an Instagram page, learning how to get the word out that I got something to sell, right? And I got something to give to the world. And I don't care if I'm selling these things for 15 bucks. This looks fun to me, man. And even though this is starting small, that vision that I have for my life of being in control of my time, having freedom, having the ability to potentially make more one day than I'm making at my job now, making some Wi-Fi money, I'm like, damn, man, that inspires me. I think I'm building towards that. And the same process that happened when I started the 70-point theory training took over again. I started to get some points on the board in the new game that I was playing. And so all of a sudden, that 30-minute commute that I had on the Market Frankfurt line in Philly, oh man, now all of a sudden, that's time for 2 Gary Vee podcasts. He's got these 10 to 15-minute podcasts giving business advice. And so I'm like, boom, man. My days are starting off. I'm learning. I'm getting knowledge that can help me in this business. I'm posting on to the new business Instagram account. I'm thinking about it all day, right? I'm still hitting my sales numbers. Don't get me wrong. I'm taking care of business. But I'm starting to be emotionally invested into this game that I'm building for myself. And now all of a sudden, the subway ride home, same kind of thing. Got more content, can learn more. Maybe I've made a sale during the day, and all of a sudden I get home, and I don't just have nothing to do. I got bandanas to sew, dog. Let's go. I got orders to package. And then the next morning, when I'm going back into the office listening to more Gary Vee podcasts, today I got an order in my bag, dog. And I'm dropping orders in the mailroom at the bottom of my building and then taking the elevator up to the 15th floor. And all these motherfuckers that I'm working with, they don't even know that I am not only playing a different game, but I am winning. And my mindset is starting to change for the good. And I'm watching my coworkers, and they're bitching and they're moaning about this thing, and the marketing department's complaining about the product department, and the account management department's complaining about the sales department. And I'm like, dog, I'm hitting my numbers, and peace out, man. I don't care about any of this. Because I got my own game, man. And I got a vision for my life. I want freedom, man. I see other people got it. Why can't I? What's holding me back? Nothing but my own mind, which I am starting to change. And I am changing my mind because I've got this other game and I can start racking up buckets, man. And I just think back to those days, man. The dog bandana business, yeah, don't get me wrong, man. I believed it could be $1 million business. But dude, getting a sale in a day was a big deal. I hustled on that thing for like 18 months, 2 years. My biggest revenue month ever was like $2,000. And it came with like 60 hours of sewing. It was not a sustainable business model. But it gave me something to get points in, man. Gave me something to try, to play with, to stack some skills in. And the discipline of the endurance training started showing up in the business as I got back to being healthy, got back to training for the 70.3. And now all of a sudden in my mind, I'm like, oh man, I got this corporate job and I'm hitting all my sales quotas, but also guess what's going on? I'm becoming an endurance athlete and I'm building an online business. And I am living in a totally different reality than all of my peers. And that excites me, man. That excites me. So let me fast forward to a big inflection point. And this is a real unlock for finding the courage to play your own game, right? So let me fast forward. We're into COVID. I've been doing the endurance training for a while. I've been doing the business for a while. I'm working from home, right? Because no one's in the office. And all of a sudden, my boss decides to change up the rules of the corporate game. I'm hitting all my sales numbers, right? I'm a reliable employee. But some people on my team, my boss doesn't trust that they're working when we're all working from home. So he decides to create a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8:30 in the morning team huddle on Zoom, which, let's be real, it was babysitting. And it's making sure that the people on my team are getting up and working. And I'm seeing this and I'm like, dude, this is so silly, right? This is so silly. And it's fueling me to pour more into the games that I am playing on my own. And a good parallel that I've seen over the past couple of years, my buddy Adam is a great example of this. So my buddy Adam, just this past Friday, put in his 2 weeks at JP Morgan. He's going all in on his endurance coaching business and just living the life that he wants. I'm so proud of him. And the thing that I am most stoked about is that he has finally broken free from the most ridiculous game, which I see a lot of people stuck in this 2023, 2024 timeline. So everybody goes to working from home in COVID, right? And then all these companies try to bring people back. And now all of a sudden, over the past year or two, my buddy Adam, who gets all of his shit done at work, his work is totally minimized to what is his swipe percentage of coming into the office, right? He needs to hit a 60% swipe rate to show his attendance. And that's like the only thing that his boss cares about. Which is again proof that if you are stuck playing someone else's game, they have the ability to change the rules on you whenever you want. And to some degree, you're going to be forced to comply. Now back to my example. My boss creates these 8:30 in the morning team huddles, babysitting meetings. And this was the first sign that I needed to make a big change for myself. So shortly after these were implemented, they actually tried to start having us go back into the office. And I'm working on the sales team. And they're like, we need the sales team in. They're back into the office. This is an in-office role. And I'm like, I've been working from home for this amount of time. I've been hitting all of my numbers. I'm not coming back into the office. And my boss, he's basically just passing information from above him. He's not really willing to move it on that. So I'm like, listen, man, let me think back to my game. My game right now is becoming an endurance athlete and building an online business, which demands that I have flexibility over my day-to-day schedule and it demands that I have freedom over my location. So I am not willing to go back into the office. So what are my options? And this is the big unlock for a lot of people that are looking to transition out of a corporate role. I transferred from the sales team to the account management team because the account management team was fully remote. Now, if you work in a company that has a sales and an account management department, you know how sales views account management. And if you aren't familiar with that, let me make it crystal clear. The sales team thinks that the account management team are all bitches. They think that they just clean up the dirty work. They think that the sales team brings in all the revenue. They think that any client retention problems are a result of the account management team not doing their job, right? So when I make this move, everybody in the sales department is judging me. My boss, his boss, they're actively talking shit on me. Ryan doesn't know what he's doing. Ryan's a top performer on the team. He's giving up so much opportunity. He could be a manager in a couple of years. But again, they didn't know, man. I'm playing my own game. And my game and this vision that I have for my life, man, it's not 1 year down the road. It's not 2 years down the road. This is my big vision for my life, right? To have this freedom, this independence, to be this endurance athlete that can do anything with his mind and his body, to be this online business owner that can live from anywhere and make money on the internet. Like, that's my vision. And so right now what I need is I need somebody off my fucking back, man. I need to jet over to the account management team where I can work from home, and it's also a little bit easier to hit my metrics, right? So this is the move that then ultimately set me up to build the endurance coaching business, to build the online brand, to establish tribal training and build the team, and ultimately leave my corporate job. And so when I'm thinking back to the beginning of this journey, man, it all started with this idea of what's the game that I want to play, man? Like, just because I've been working to this corporate gig and I've been chasing this big salary and this fancy LinkedIn title doesn't mean I can't change my mind. I'm really inspired by people that do big endurance stuff. I want to try that out. That looks really fun. That looks like that could add a lot of value to my life. And so I want to play a game of life that allows me to do that. And now also I'm seeing people create online businesses. I'm seeing them create Amazon FBA. I'm seeing them create these e-commerce stores. Like, that looks fun. Why can't I include that in my game of life? And it's really, really cool because now I stand here in March of 2024, and not only has that vision that I had for my life essentially come completely true, but the skills that I was building along the way are like all still showing up today. Like the tribal training hat that I'm wearing. Like back when I was doing the dog bandanas, it all started with me buying fabric at Joann's, but then it evolved to me wanting to design my own products. So I got an iPad, I learned this drawing application called Procreate, and I made this Philly-themed dog collar and dog leash. And the drawing skills, the digital art skills that I used and learned back then, every single piece of tribal training merch starts out with me providing a rough sketch that I make in that program that I then send to the designers. So this exact hat, I literally drew this hat. And that was a skill that I acquired by defining my own game. And so if you are somebody who is trying to do something big like a 70.3 or an Ironman or a 100-mile race, right? Or anything that feels big to you, I really encourage you to lean into the fact that that's part of the game that you want to play in life, right? Because it's never going to go well if you are totally focused on the political game, the news game, the opinions game, The corporate game, the game of the corporate ladder, the game of the corporate relationships. Right? Even in my own family, I've felt like the different relational games, man, I'm not playing that game. I'm taking myself out of that game. And I'm going to play this game over here where I'm chasing a 70.3 and I'm building a business. And now all of a sudden, since it's like authentic to me, I'm getting to know myself better. And now I'm recognizing how I can show up authentically. And now I'm realizing that if I'm not playing any games that I want to play in life and I'm only playing other people's games, I'm showing up inauthentically. And that's draining my energy. It's making me susceptible to bad habits. It's limiting my control of my emotions. It's setting me up to blame my circumstances, blame other people for my shortcomings. And man, I want to be great. I want to live a great life. And if I want to live a great life, and if I want to create freedom for my family and independence, man, I got to get rid of all that shit. And in my experience, the way that I've gotten rid of all of that shit is by bringing in more positive qualities that I have acquired playing games that are true to me. Right? And I'll go back to the start of those two games. I was inspired by Cameron Hanes, Courtney Dauwalter, and Jesse Itzler. I saw them doing big things as everyday people. And I said, why can't that be me? That looks fun, man. That looks challenging. That looks scary. That looks exciting. That looks like I'm going to want to quit. And if I don't quit, I'm going to come out better on the other side. I like that. I want some of that. Right? I saw people building e-commerce stores. I saw people doing Amazon FBA. I saw people using Alibaba to create products and get samples sent from China, right? I'm like, I don't know how to do any of that. But that looks pretty exciting, man. And I think that if I just stick with it for a couple of years, I could probably make something decent. And if not, man, at least my day-to-day has got some zest. Oh, man, if nothing else, just changing up that 30-minute subway ride from dreading the day, dreading the office, showing up with a bad attitude. Oh, man, getting to listen to those Gary Vee podcasts, getting to steal a little nugget of information. Oh, man, that filled me up so much. I'm walking through Center City, Philly, man. I got my headphones in, and I'm like, man, I'm on a mission to change the world. Now, in reality, that looked like selling $15 bandanas, right? That looked like staying up till 2 a.m. because I didn't know how to sew for shit. But in my mind, man, I was going somewhere. I hope this resonates with you. I've had a good time sharing my story here. Thanks for listening.